So in this video, we're going to take a trip to one of the most beautiful places in the world and how not to be attached to anything and attain max effort freedom. I used my lunch money to get this book here. I used to read this comic book, Slam Dunk, when I was about 10 in elementary school because I wanted to be like everybody else. Everybody's reading it and playing basketball, and that's how I started playing basketball in elementary school. And then in middle school, and I realized that to jump higher, you have to lift weights. So I started to lift weights, and I started to get into powerlifting and bodybuilding. And then I was like, physical aesthetics not enough, mental aesthetics. And I'm reading philosophy, and then science. And then I was like, no, mind is not enough. And meditation. Now here I am.
Damn. So I discovered something very subtle the last week or so. You know how I used to talk about all spiritual teachings and religions and contemplative fitness techniques lead to the same place? I discovered that that's not quite true. It's not quite false, but it's not completely true. See, Brahman in Hinduism, emptiness in Buddhism, and Tao in Taoism, they are actually pointing to slightly different. See, enlightenment is a multifaceted jewel. You can slice infinite number of ways, but it's the same infinity in a sense. I used to expand my body mind, or my sense of quote unquote self, the big S, into infinite space. My body, my being becomes the entire universe. I was merging, quote unquote, merging with the entire universe. Actually, merging is not even the right word because there was never a separation. It's like the glass, the space inside and outside the glass. It's just there, it's connected. You just gotta see through the illusion of the separation between the glass and the no glass. You know what I mean? Recently, I've been doing some kind of, quote unquote, emptiness training, where I say, not this, not that, not this, not that, whatever sensation, whatever thoughts, whatever images arise, emotions, bodies, thoughts, sight, sound. I said, not this, not that. Nadi. Right? Even when you come to a place of all present awareness or consciousness or Godmind, you say, not this, not that. And you're going to come to a place where you are completely unlocatable and inexpressible. You are literally beyond time and space. Another way to tackle this inquiry is to inquire into whatever that you are looking at. So here's the technique. Whatever that you're looking at is not self, it's not you. So it's obvious that when I can see the shoe, that's not me. When I can see this book, that's not me. When I can see my body, that's not me. When I can see my mind, I'm observing my mind right now, that's not me. And then again, people will stop at awareness. Okay, I'm the observer, I'm the awareness. Can you be aware of awareness? Can you look at awareness? If you can be aware of awareness, that's not you either. That's why the aware of awareness phase is important, but don't get stuck there. And that's why having that 360 full view of infinite consciousness is important, because can you observe that? Can you observe the infinite consciousness? If yes, then that's not self either. You see how tricky this is? This is how you dissolve the observer thoroughly and completely. A lot of people think they have dissolved the observer or the awareness or the witness, but they haven't. They haven't deconstructed it all the way. And this is so subtle that some people get stuck there, even very advanced teachers and practitioners for the rest of their lives, maybe. You're gonna come to a place where, yes, everything is you, but everything is not you. And there's no one watching at all. It's just, quote unquote, God watching itself. So for true self, when everything is you, versus no self, emptiness, when nothing is you, the two facets of reality can be experienced, interpreted slightly differently with different flavors. The Brahman, that's kind of like plus. Think of it as an A plus method to enlightenment. And then the emptiness method is the A minus method to enlightenment. See, what's interesting is that a lot of people from the no self emptiness school of Buddhism would criticize
the True Self, Brahman, Infinite Consciousness Awareness School, saying that they haven't taken it all the way. Because the emptiness teaching says that no ground at all, groundless ground. Groundless ground, no groundless being, groundless ground. You cannot hold on to anything, not even Brahman. The Buddha said even a consciousness is dependently originated from whatever consciousness is aware of. The observer and the observed dependently arise with, through, and as each other. There's no observer without the observed. There's no all-knowing God, Brahma consciousness apart from whatever object it's being conscious of right now. So it's not like you can hold on to that eternal, timeless being, because that goes against the rule of impermanence. This is the teaching of dependent origination. And a lot of people think that's the highest teachings in Buddhism. Because all phenomenons and objects and concepts, anything in the universe is dependently originated from other things. So each thing is a no thing intrinsically in and of itself. It's all just a process of interactions. Even emptiness is empty. You see this graph of all those different notes? Each of those represents an object. And every object is completely empty. And what makes up the object is the million other connections that it's making through millions of other connections. See, emptiness and dependent origination are actually two sides of the same coin. You can't truly appreciate the beauty of dependent origination without recognizing or realizing no self or anatta or emptiness. And it's not nihilistic at all. Because when you truly recognize dependent origination through emptiness, every action that you take, it feels like it's the best possible outcome. That is the result of the doing of the entire universe. Even if you're just shooting hoops and you miss 10 in a row. And when other people talk shit about you, when you see this interconnected way that things are occurring through the force of nature and interconnectedness, nothing can hurt you, bro. That's one thing to perceive emptiness. And again, another way to perceive emptiness is more direct. Just like I'm at the point where I've seen through the illusion of solidities thoroughly that when I look at a cup, it's completely holographic. Like my vision is sort of just, it's like a huge hologram with no end to sight, 360 degrees. And this, it's just like, I'm just penetrating through, like, I can't explain it, man. I can stand in the middle way. Again, I can expand awareness so I can concentrate on infinite space through one pointedness. In the next moment, I can just pull back and reduce my sense of self down to the zero pointness of not even nothing. Bunch of paradoxes and contradictions, I know. If infinity does not include paradoxes and contradictions, it's not infinite, is it? For the a millionth time. Your level of consciousness is directly correlated with how well you can juggle paradoxes and contradictions with one hand or no hand. Emptiness, dependent origination, impermanence, no self, all of them are different ways to slice the same no thing. This is why the natty mind comes. Look at God's natty mind. Look at this. Different situations in life calls for different version of enlightenment. However, there are going to be some scholars or some practitioners that argues that they're actually talking about something different. I'm going to venture to say that they're actually describing the same thing. There's one matter difference, is the matter of identification. See, oftentimes when you're identified with everything, the character tends to, in a very sneaky, subtle way, identifying pure consciousness as the new self from the perspective of a subject. The subject being the character, the object being the self, the capital S, or awareness or consciousness. But there is no such duality, see? Objects in the world and humans, whatever, they're not arising and passing in and out of some kind of substance or container that is unchanging and unconditioned. Go into the stream. I think the only way to know whether those two schools are talking about the same thing is if you pin down their best practitioners, the practitioners from either school who has taken this practice, their realization to the end point, and then you sit them down, kind of like martial arts fighting, and you put them in MRI machines and scan their brains to see if they're experiencing the exact same thing. It's never gonna be exact, but you know what I mean. Or if you have them write down their moment-to-moment experiences and see if they're compare notes and see if they're experiencing similar states, or have them access their higher states of consciousness and then see what's going on in their brain. But again, all those things, you know, all this phenomenology really transcends neurology and neuroscience in some sense. But who gives a fuck? Really, who gives a fuck? Just be a shapeshifter, find the middle way. Imagine that. Imagine like mental athletes. They just sit in their circle and then just meditate and see who can access the sessions the fastest, or who can access the most sessions in nibbana in 1 hour, or who can access the highest state of jhanas, who can become more infinite than the next infinite bra. And then it's a competition, just like athletics. We can hook our brains up into the computer, and then people can experience, we can sort of record experience, not just images, but the feelings of it, the mind state, the consciousness. Not just put it on the screen so people can watch like a movie, although that's already very impressive. What if in the future, other people who aren't accessing those states could experience those states as if they are accessing those states? I wouldn't have to try so hard to communicate with you how I feel, what I experience moment to moment to moment. You can just experience it. Kind of like being John Malkovich. You come inside this meat suit and you go, open your eyes, what the